Have you ever noticed how some people can simply receive love? When someone compliments them, they smile, they say thank you, and they move on. When someone chooses them, they don't spend the next few months wondering when that person is going to change their mind. When someone tells them that they love them, they believe it. For the longest time, I couldn't understand how people do that because that wasn't my experience at all. Whenever someone liked me, my first reaction wasn't excitement. It was actually confusion. I was thinking, wow, really? Why me? And do they actually mean that? And if I'm honest, even when someone was showing me with their actions that they cared about me, there was always this quiet voice that it was at the back of my mind saying that, you know what, just wait. Eventually, they're going to see what you see. Eventually, they're going to realize that you're not actually enough. And that voice followed me into every early relationship that I had. And it wasn't always loud, but it was always kind of quietly in the back of my mind, making me doubt each person's intentions. It showed up every time someone took a little longer than usual to reply. Every time they seemed quieter than normal. Every time they had a stressful week. Every time they needed space. My mind will instantly fill in the blanks. My mind will start running and saying, oh, they are pulling away. Maybe you've done something wrong. And this is, oh, okay, this is how it starts now. And looking back, I wasn't actually afraid of really being left. I was more afraid that them leaving would finally prove something that I secretly believed about myself for so long. And what I believed was that maybe I just wasn't enough. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I wasn't struggling with relationships, but I was struggling more with the way that I saw myself. And until that changed, nothing else changed either. Hi guys, I'm Andriana and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, I'm making videos all about becoming secure in yourself so you can attract naturally healthier, happier, and more secure relationships. And today's video is one thing that I wish someone made for me years ago. I genuinely believe that this hidden belief sits underneath so many of the struggles that we experience in love, in our relationships, without us even realizing that it is coming from us. So let's get into it. As for so many years, I thought that my problem was confidence and the lack of it. So I did what I think a lot of us do. I just convinced myself that there was just another version of me that I had to become. So I was thinking if I become prettier, I will finally feel enough. And when after that, it became if I become more successful, if I heal my attachment style, if I finally find the right person, the right relationship, there was always another destination. Another version of me that I believe will finally arrive and I will feel then secure in it. But every time I got there, every time I achieved that destination, arrived at that destination, the finish line automatically moved again and again and again and again. I remember I was dating people who genuinely liked me, and the strange thing is that I believed them for about 5 minutes. They will tell me how happy they were to have met me. They will plan dates. They will text first. They will show up consistently. They will make effort. And in those moments, I will feel safe until they didn't. Because then some days they will take a little longer to reply, or they will seem quieter than usual. Maybe, I don't know, they were busy. Maybe they had work. Maybe they were simply tired. My mind didn't care. I had already decided what that meant. I was already running in my head, oh, you know, they're getting bored, they're losing interest, and telling to myself that I knew that this wasn't going to last. And the interesting part is that nothing actually happened. The only thing that happened was that reality touched the belief that I was already carrying and I was already having. And I think that's something so many of us don't realize. We think that our reality is showing us that our intuition is right. It's just our fears, it's our beliefs that are getting projected into reality that therefore convinces us that this is truth, this is what is actually happening. When I was dating, I thought that every relationship was teaching me something about the other person. So I went into it focusing on the other person. So do they actually like me? Can I trust them? Are they emotionally available? Are they losing interest? And I thought that was the lesson. That was the point of relationships, learning others so well. But eventually I realized that every relationship was actually teaching me something about me. And not because relationships were creating insecurities about myself, but because they were revealing them. So that means that whatever I was carrying, it was just showing me all of the insecurities that I've been carrying already for so many years. So that delayed text that I didn't get, it didn't create that fear. It just simply showed it to me. The disagreement that I had, it didn't create that insecurity, it just exposed it. The relationship wasn't the source of the wound. It was simply the place where I could no longer avoid looking at it. I couldn't hide from it. And honestly, that completely changed the way that I approached healing. And that is because I stopped trying to fix every relationship by focusing on the other person and by focusing on changing the other person. Instead, I started becoming more curious about the relationship that I had with myself. And that's when I realized something that I wish someone had told me years earlier, that an inferiority complex doesn't just affect your relationships. It becomes the lens through which you experience your entire life. It changes the opportunities that you go after, the standards that you settle for, the way that you speak about yourself, the way you let other people treat you, the dreams that you convince yourself that they're probably not for someone like me. It even changes what you believe you're worthy of receiving, because once you start believing that you are less than, you don't just feel different, but you start making decisions from that place. You don't apply for that job because someone else is probably more qualified. You don't speak up because someone else's opinion must be more important. You don't leave the relationship because maybe this is the best you will ever get. You don't ask for more because you secretly don't believe you deserve more. And what is heartbreaking is that none of these decisions feel like they come from low self-worth while you are making them. They feel logical. They feel realistic. They feel like you're just being honest with yourself. But you're not seeing reality. You're seeing yourself through the story that you have been telling yourself for so many years. That's why healing that story, by healing the inferiority complex, changes so much more than just your dating life. Because the moment that you stop believing that you are less than, you stop building a life around that belief. The first thing that changed was that I realized I had been trying to fix the wrong problem. So for so many years, I kept asking myself, how do I become enough? How do I become prettier, more successful, more confident, more lovable? And I thought that healing meant becoming someone that was completely different from who I was. But eventually I realized that I was asking the wrong question. The better question was, where did I learn that I wasn't enough in the first place? Because the truth of it is that nobody is born believing that they are inferior. If you look at a child, for example, they don't walk into a room and they're wondering if they are the prettiest, if they are the strongest, if they are the most powerful, if they are the most successful. They don't apologize for taking up space. They don't assume someone else deserves more love than them. At some point, life teaches us to doubt ourselves. So for you, maybe you were constantly compared. Maybe you only received praise when you achieved something. Maybe someone rejected you. Maybe you grew up feeling unseen and unheard. Maybe for you, love felt conditional. Whatever the reason, I'm not enough wasn't something that you were born believing. It was a conclusion that you slowly arrived at through your experiences. And when I finally saw that, it changed everything for me, because I stopped treating that belief like it was the complete and absolute truth. I started seeing it for what it really was. And what it was a story. A story that I had repeated so many times that it started to feel like it was my identity. And the good thing about stories is that they can always be rewritten. The second thing that I realized was that I had quietly made everyone else's opinion more important than my own. I didn't even notice that I was doing that, so I will walk into a room and without even thinking, I will start ranking everyone. Who's prettier? Who's funnier? Who's more successful? Who's more confident? And then I will ask, where do I fit? Where do I rank? And of course, somehow, from my own inferior perspective, I will end up somewhere beneath everyone else. And then what will happen is that I will meet someone that I like, that had some of these qualities that I was looking up to, and I will quietly place them on a pedestal too. Their opinion, because they had those qualities that I didn't have, mattered more than mine. If they liked me, I felt amazing about myself, and if they pulled away, I will instantly start questioning everything about me. It wasn't because they were actually above me, it was because I had placed myself beneath them. I made that decision. Once I became aware of that, I could see how unfairly I saw myself and how unfairly I placed myself. Because if I treated myself this way, how did I expect others to do differently? I had spent so many years giving everyone else the benefit of the doubt, while I was constantly looking for reasons why I wasn't enough, while I was spending so much time judging and criticizing me and pulling me apart. I changed that belief when I stopped seeing people as better than me, and I started seeing them as simply human. It means that they were just like me, because every single person has things that they're confident about, and they have things that they secretly struggle with. We usually do not see the things that they struggle with. Someone might have the career that you admire, but they might be struggling in their relationships. Someone might seem incredibly confident and social and has so many friends, but maybe they battle with anxiety every single day. Someone might have something that you wish so desperately that you had, whilst they wish they had something that you do. So the truth is, we are all carrying different strengths, while at the same time we carry different insecurities and different challenges. It's just understanding that no one's life is complete, no one's life is perfect, and no one is exempt from challenges. No one's journey is ahead of yours. It's just simply different. And once I truly understood that, I was able to stop asking where do I rank compared to them, because there wasn't a ranking anymore. We're not here to compete with each other. I understood that we're here to live completely different lives, and we are acquiring strengths and facing challenges at different times in our lives. And that also made me realize something else. Just because I wasn't perfect yet, or I didn't have everything figured out, it didn't mean that I had to make myself smaller. I was still allowed to have an opinion. I was still allowed to take up space. I was still allowed to say what I wanted and ask for what I needed, and to trust my own voice. To trust that I'm not asking for too much, and that I don't cross a line by speaking up. And honestly, learning to value my own opinion more than everyone else's changed my life, because I used to live in a reality where this was completely flipped, where everyone's opinion mattered more than mine. And once I learned that, it completely changed the way that I approached everything. Because at the end of the day, I am the person who has to live my life, not them. So that my decisions have to come from me. They have to come from internally. So my opinion about who I am finally had to become louder and put on a higher pedestal than everyone else's. And it really comes back into your relationships, because healthy relationships don't happen between someone that is on a pedestal and someone who is not, someone who is trying to earn a place beside them. Relationships happen between two people who already believe that they are enough, and therefore they already believe that they are equals. Then I realized that my actions were also quietly teaching me what I believed about myself. When I realized how I used to treat and see myself, I tried to fix that by using a lot of affirmations. So I used to tell myself, or try to tell myself, oh, I'm worthy, I am enough, I am lovable. But when I looked at my actions, when I looked at my behavior towards myself, it was still telling the old story of what I believed about myself. So I will ignore my own needs. I will stay quiet instead of saying what bothered me. I will accept the bare minimum. I will over-explain. I will over-give. I will over-compromise. I will chase people who weren't choosing me. And then I will wonder why I still didn't feel worthy. The truth is, my subconscious wasn't listening to what I said, to what I was affirming. It was watching to what I repeatedly accepted, to how I behaved towards myself, to how respect I was showing to myself by what I was accepting. Because every action sends yourself a message. Every time that you stay somewhere that hurts you, you're teaching yourself that you think you deserve that you think that this is acceptable. Every time that you abandon yourself to keep someone else in your life, you are teaching yourself that it doesn't matter how they treat me as long as I keep them. You're teaching yourself that their needs matter the most, and therefore I need to focus on satisfying their needs, and their needs matter the most, so I can keep them. The opposite is true too. Every boundary, every honest conversation you have, every time you walk away from something that no longer aligns with you, you're slowly beginning to teach yourself a completely different story. And you don't do that through words, through affirmations, but you do it through evidence. And evidence is so concrete, is so factual, that it completely changes our experience. And I genuinely think that's where confidence really comes from. Not from talking differently, but from repeatedly showing yourself that you matter. By showing to yourself that what you don't like, you don't have to tolerate. And you don't need permission to confirm that. Then I stopped treating my own worth like something that I had to earn, something that I had to prove. I think this was the belief underneath everything. I genuinely believe that worth was something that you had to earn, something you need to collect. So one more achievement, one more compliment, one more relationship, one more milestone, and then I will finally arrive. And then I will finally feel worthy. I will finally feel complete. Except I never did. Because every time I reached the next goal, there was another one waiting. I was never arriving to that feeling of completion. And that was so exhausting. What I really wanted was the feeling, but I was getting the goals achieved, but I wasn't getting the feeling. It was like a roller coaster. It felt like I was constantly chasing a finish line that kept moving further and further away. And at the same time, it made me feel less and less secure and worthy. And eventually I realized why. It wasn't because I was too ambitious. There's nothing wrong with wanting more for your life. There's nothing wrong with having goals or dreaming about the relationship, the career, the business, the body, the life that you truly want. The problem begins when you quietly start believing that I will finally feel enough, I will finally feel worthy only when I get there. The moment you attach your worth to a future version of yourself, you're automatically telling yourself that who you are right now, who you are today, is not enough, is not complete, is not worthy. And that's where insecurity is actually born from. Not because you have the goals, but because you have made your sense of worth conditional on achieving them. It made me realize that I've spent so many years believing that the thing that I wanted was going to rescue me, was going to save me from the way I felt. That the relationship will make me feel lovable, that the promotion or the career will make me feel successful, that the body will make me feel confident, that getting that achievement will finally make me feel worthy. Every time I reached that goal, the feeling disappeared almost as quickly as it came, because achieving that goal was never what I was truly looking for. I wasn't chasing the relationship. I was chasing the feeling that I thought that the relationship would give me. I wasn't chasing the success. I was chasing the feeling of finally being enough. And once I understood that, everything clicked for me, because I stopped expecting my future to heal something, to completely heal something that my present was responsible for. I stopped asking from my goals to give me an identity, to give me worth, to give me completion. I learned how to feel whole while still having dreams. I learned how to become secure while still wanting more. I learned how to feel enough while still growing. And that's what I think is real confidence. Or that's what at least I think doesn't make you more insecure. Is not believing that you no longer want anything, but knowing that your worth isn't waiting for you on the other side of your next achievement. The more I was able to separate my worth from my appearance, my worth from my achievements, my worth from my accomplishments, from who I had in my life and who chose me, immediately my relationships became so much lighter, because people stopped deciding whether I mattered, whether I was significant, whether I was worthy, whether I was whole. I already decided. I already did that. And so they simply became a part of a life that already felt whole, that already felt complete. And finally, I built a relationship with myself that nobody else had to maintain. And this was probably the biggest gift that healing my inferiority complex gave me. I stopped expecting another person to constantly convince me and reassure me that I was enough, because that was never their job. Their job is to love me. My job is to know my worth and to know that I am lovable, that I am deserving of that love. And these are two completely different responsibilities. The more I took responsibility for the way that I saw myself, the way that I treated myself, the less pressure I placed on other people I dated to fulfill that thing, to do that instead of me. It allowed love to stop feeling like it was so fragile and so like sensitive and so risky. If I lost it, I will lose everything that I expected that person to do for me. It stopped feeling like something that I had to constantly protect, to constantly earn, or that's something that I had to constantly monitor so that it could prove to me what I kept doubting, which was my own worth and my own value. I learned to see myself as inherently worthy, not because of what I achieved or who chose me, but simply because I exist. And the final realization of this that changed literally everything was realizing that building a healthy relationship with yourself takes as much time, as much care and intention as building a healthy relationship with anyone else. Especially if you have spent so many years criticizing yourself, doubting yourself, abandoning yourself, and breaking your own trust. So instead of trying to fix myself, I started to getting to know myself. I started to build trust with myself. I became my own friend, and I learned how to love myself in the ways that myself wanted and needed. And then I kept showing up for that relationship over and over again, even when it wasn't easy. And because that's how every healthy relationship is built. And deep down I knew that until I learned how to have a healthy relationship with myself, I wouldn't truly know how to build one with anyone else. So for the first time, I was able to simply receive love. And not because someone else suddenly just started loving me differently, but because I had finally learned how to believe it. I learned how to believe that I was deserving of it. Healing my inferiority complex didn't make me think that I was better than anyone else. It just helped me realize that nobody was better than me either. That we are all human, that we are all carrying different stories, different wounds, different fears, different challenges. And the difference is that once I became secure, I no longer went into my relationships with the question of, will this person finally make me feel enough, finally make me feel complete? But I asked, can I continue being the person that I've worked so hard to become while loving someone else, while being there for someone else? Because I no longer believe that the purpose of a relationship is to prove my worth. I didn't go into relationships with the intention of proving that. I learned to believe that I am in relationships to share the version of me that already knows that I'm worthy, that already knows that I'm lovable. And I genuinely think that's where secure love begins, when it's a knowing inside of you. And that's exactly what I help people with now. Help them turn that relationship with themselves into a secure one, so their relationships that they're going to attract are going to mirror that, instead of the insecure relationship they have with themselves. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can always let me know in the comments, and I will see you very soon.